Flatliners. I'm just gonna get right into it with this movie. Flatliners stars Ellen Page, who you may know from Juno. It stars Nina Doobie, Smoke a Doobie.
Smoke weed every day.
From the Vampire Diaries. And it stars Diego Luna, who comes out in Rogue One, and he comes out in a bunch of shit, but I just know him from Rogue One. And it also stars, I know her name. I'll probably put her name here on the bottom. It stars the girl that comes out in, she comes out in a lot of movies. She's playing Iris West in the Flash movie, and I think she might be featured in the Justice League movie. I'll put a picture of her right here.
Damn!
And her name on the bottom. So it stars her and this white guy. So it's about these 5 doctors that or 5 med students who are all doing residency at this hospital together, and Ellen Page's character, who plays kind of like the more or less leader of the group, kind of not tricks them, but kind of like persuades them by mysteriously asking them to join her at this subsection that's in the hospital, that's kind of like an abandoned wing in the hospital, or like an abandoned warehouse type deal in the hospital. And she basically tells them, like, hey, I want y'all guys to, like, medically, like, kill me, like, you know, I want to be medically dead, so that way I can see what the afterlife is like. And pretty much, like, they react how you would react if your friend wanted you to do that. They're like, what the fuck? And they kind of have, like, some sort of, like, moral, like, you know, like their moral compass is telling them, like, no, don't do this, don't help her do this. Until the blonde white guy, he's just like, no, you know what, I'm gonna help her do it. She's an adult, she can make decisions. And so they go ahead with it, and that's where the movie, like, kicks off. That's where Flatliners starts. You see Ellen Page flatline for the first time. And the one thing I can say about the movie is it's corny. It's a corny movie. But the cast is solid enough to where you kind of overlook the corniness of the movie, and you're just like, yeah, I'll take it for what it is. I mean, it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a terrible movie. It's not a horrible movie. It's not the worst horror movie that I've ever seen. I mean, it's not even the worst remake that I've ever seen. It's as far as remakes go, I mean, yeah, I've seen better remakes, I've seen worse remakes. This remake is kind of just down the middle. It's not as good as the first film, as the first Flatliners, which I suggest you see, which the first Flatliners stars Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, and that's all I can remember right now. But that film is far more superior than this remake or sequel. I think it's marketing itself as a sequel because Kiefer Sutherland's character comes out in this movie, but he doesn't really have any impact because he doesn't really do anything from the story. He doesn't even mention the previous film, nor does he even, like, allude to the fact that he knows what they're doing. So his inclusion in the film is kind of pointless. So there's that. The film, I feel like it's a good thriller movie. It's not a good horror movie because once they introduce the elements of horror into this film, it starts to fall apart. Like the first half of the movie where they're experimenting with the flatline procedure or theory, whatever you want to call it, that's interesting. I like that. I thought the movie was going to go in a certain direction where they were going to get caught and maybe they were going to go on some sort of trial or something else is going to happen, and the movie of course didn't go that way. It's a horror movie, so it eventually had to build up to the scares or whatever, and I mean, that's perfectly fine. I mean, but like I said, the horror element of the movie, it's not great. That's very run-of-the-mill. It's very basic. It's very, just so many horror cliches that you're already familiar with. But if you're a fan of the first Flatliners movie, or you've never seen the Flatliners movie, and you're going into this movie thinking you're going to see a straight-up horror film, that you're going to be scared out of your seat, that you're just going to be, like, freaked out, this is not the movie for you. This movie, at best, it's a decent acted, visually pleasing thriller. That's pretty much the best that I can give it. I'm not being too hard on this film because it didn't really take itself all that serious. The film seemed like it knew that it had like a crazy premise, and it knew that it had kind of like corny dialogue. That's why they stuffed it with such a decent cast. The cast is good. I mean, Ellen Page is good in the movie. Diego Luna's really good in the movie. Nina Doobie or Smoke a Doobie, whatever her name is.
Smoke weed every day.
She's alright in the movie. I mean, you can tell like she's one of the weaker actresses. Her and the other blonde guy in the movie, they're weaker than the other actors and actresses in the film, but that's all right. When they're together, you believe that these people are friends. You believe that they would hang out in real life, and you more or less care what's going on with these people. Another negative thing I can say about the movie is that the movie feels like it doesn't have any consequences. Like, the characters don't have any consequences for their actions, and that's a big part of this movie, that you have, whenever you do something, there's consequences for that. This movie is centered all around that. Basically, the moral of the movie is be a good person, live up to what you do, and just basically admit when you're wrong. You know, that's the moral of the story. And for that being the moral of the story, the characters don't really follow that moral. There's no repercussions for their actions. I mean, not really. I mean, once they kind of admit what they've done wrong, I mean, all of the bad stuff happening to them pretty much stops. So I guess that's where the film fails for me. They had a good idea, but they didn't execute it properly. The end product wasn't the best that it could be. I mean, this Flatliners sequel or remake or reboot or whatever it is, it has the potential to be a lot better. And it kind of pains me to see that it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I know a lot of people saw this trailer and were just like, oh dude, this looks like it's going to suck. When I saw this trailer, I saw potential. I thought this might be a good movie. And like I said, it's not a terrible movie. It's not the worst thing that I've ever seen, but it's not that great. I mean, I guess that's where I'll leave it at. This movie is a 6 out of 10. This is a 6 out of 10. I know this review was a little bit like scattered and a little bit like low energy than what you're used to watching, but this movie, it's harmless. I'm not going to remember it in a week, and it didn't really get that much emotion out of me for me to be like, this movie fucking sucks, because it didn't fucking suck. It was semi-decent. So there you have it, Flatliners. Have you seen it? Will you see it? Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it, and let me know what you thought about this video. As always, I'm Ryan.T, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.